Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Safest Family on the Block, where knowledge is power. My name's Jason, and joining me today is the other Jason. Hello, sir.
I like the other Jason. That's fantastic.
The other Jason.
I mean, I think I have seniority on you insofar as years on the planet, but our iteration, how we met through Justin, I am the other Jason. That's how it happens.
That's right.
I get it.
Now, Jason has the distinction, we've had several people who've come on the show more than once, but Jason's going to be the first one to come on the show twice to talk about wildly different topics. And can talk a little bit about your background and why you're coming on today.
So I am recently, sort of recently retired. I got injured on the job in 2020, July of 2020. I'm now officially retired after 23 years in law enforcement. But that's not the purpose here today. I'm not going to talk about cool tactical things or SWAT crawl or anything along those lines. We're here to talk about money and finances and how it can really be a rather large issue in family and like what you were talking about before we hit record in culture and how we're sort of dropping the ball for the next generation.
Absolutely. It's one of those very funny things about our culture, even amongst adults. You could be coming out of the locker room after a long conversation with your friends about the reasons you're on Viagra and the weird side effect. You may have even showed them the swelling and the discoloration. And then in the parking lot, preface asking them how much their car cost with the phrase, "if you don't mind my asking."
Yeah.
We are weirdly more reticent to talk about money in America than we are to talk about sex.
That's true. That's true. I've long said that, there used to be, was it 3 topics, I think, that you never bring up at Thanksgiving dinner: politics, religion, and sex. Well, money, in my opinion, is the new sex. We talk about, good Lord, pull up Instagram right now. I guarantee you, whether you follow them, whatever your algorithm is, somebody is going to be on there doing something that is minimally risque, but God forbid you ask someone, well, what's your bank account balance, or how much money do you make, or how much money are you in debt? How far underwater are you? How dare, it's so offensive. It's one of those taboo things that we just don't bring up anymore, which again is a shame.
One of the underlying themes of this whole show is talking to our kids about things that are scary or maybe embarrassing, so they're prepared for it when you're not around to help.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate you coming on today. And before your retirement, you had already started ramping up a business in financial coaching and credit coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do these days?
Well, I'm actually, I've got my Badges and Budgets podcast. My avatar, if you will, is your average law enforcement officer that is working a ton of overtime, barely making ends meet. Really is living off of the overtime because they have become so used to it. It just becomes old hat. This is just what we do. How can I pick up another shift, et cetera, et cetera? But the things I talk about are not specific to law enforcement. It's just that I know what that life is like. I have walked in those shoes for a couple of decades. And about, 11 years ago, the wife and I paid off almost $80,000 in debt. And back then it was just my income. And we live in the San Francisco Bay Area, not a cheap place to live. And we were able to get rid of all that debt. The only thing we owe money on now is our home. So my focus really is teaching people how to create a unique to them and sustainable budget, which is a word. I might as well be throwing out all kinds of swear words right now because people don't like the word budget, which is, again, kind of silly because you're the one that makes it. If you don't like it, you get to change it. That's entirely your purview. I don't tell you how to spend your money. I tell you and walk with you and show you how to create a spending plan, which is just a budget, by the way, that will work for you and your family. And ultimately, the goal is to get you completely out of debt.
It was interesting that you mentioned that about how people don't like the word budget. Budget, diet, and schedule. A lot of people aren't fond of, but in my experience, for example, if you put yourself on a personal budget, well, actually, let's start. If you don't have yourself on a personal budget and you see that Kickstarter you really want to back, or you see that jacket your wife really wants to buy, or or there's that vacation you want to go on, and you're not on a budget, you got this little low-lying stress going on with the purchase, this little low-lying guilt. But if you've got a budget and there's room in the budget for that expense, then you can just spend it and not worry about it and go on your merry way. It's actually liberating in a counterintuitive fashion.
It is the most liberating thing I have ever done with money ever. And I'll give you a couple of examples. A number of years ago, we took our 3 kids to Disneyland, and we, wait for it, saved up for it ahead of time and went and had a great time. And here's the key: the vacation did not follow us home. We didn't get a credit card bill 2 months later, and here's your balance. And oh my God, I can't believe we went nuts. Because when you're in the heat of the moment and you see, the kids are holding all the Mickey Mouse ears and all the stuffed animals and all that, and you're just like, oh, they're so cute, I'll just buy it for them. And then you get home, you're like, holy crap, I just spent how much money at Disneyland? Good Lord. We knew that we had taught our children well when my daughter just turned 16, just got her driver's license yesterday as we're recording this. And I remember, God, I think she was 7 years old in downtown Disney holding an Anna and Elsa doll in one hand and some other kitschy nonsense in her other hand. And she said out loud, the wife and I are around the corner. She didn't see us. She's talking to herself out loud. And she goes, I have $40. I could buy 2 of these smaller things, or I could buy this one big thing. And she's weighing out how far her money is going to go and what she can get for it. I mean, the wife and I literally high-fived in the middle of the Disney store, and we're like, that's we nailed it. That's it. This is, your kids are paying attention to how you're spending your money, how you interact with your money, the relationship you have with money, the kinds of conversations you have with your spouse about money. They are paying attention to all of that. And you, listener, are forming their future relationship with that very entity, because money is amoral. It is a thing. It does not care. I've always equated it to a hammer. A hammer is a tool. I could build a school with it, or I could bash your brains in with it. The hammer doesn't care one way or the other. It's just a hammer. Money is the same way. People always say, oh, money just changes you. No, it doesn't. It accentuates what you already are.
I like that you point out that kids are watching you with money. One of the things I've observed, forgive a personal story, is, I'm the oldest in my family. The next one down is 3 years younger than me. Then the next one down is 8 years younger than me. And my parents went from very, very, very broke, very poor, to my dad ending up in upper middle management at a bank. I'm old enough to remember the years where we were really wondering if we'd eat. But I was also old enough during those years. It happened when my dad got transferred, and they were paying 2 mortgages at once when one house didn't sell and the other, etc. But I also remember seeing the things they did to make sure we ate. The middle brother, who's just a couple years younger, he was aware of it, but he was aware of the emotional stress, but not aware enough to see the solutions. And then the youngest brother does not remember a time before dad got the big promotion. And so my relationship,
you ignorant bastard.
Exactly right. So my relationship with money is, I spend a lot of money, but I make a lot of money. Well, not like a lot of money, but a reasonable living. And and if I want to do something, I go figure out how to earn the money to do that.
Yeah.
The middle brother, he makes quite good money, but he doesn't spend money, because he's, from even the beginning, he had that formative thing of being really worried about money. So he's the one with, way more savings than he needs, etc. And then the youngest one, he's aware that money is a thing that other people kind of worry about sometimes. But it's interesting that, the kids are paying attention even from a very, very young age.
Absolutely.
Now I wanted to kind of shift gears a little. About longtime viewers know that I don't do financial security stuff on the web, on the podcast. I don't do that because there's lots of people covering how to prevent people from hacking your bank account already. And also because I want to kind of underscore the idea that if I have to choose between my money and my kid's safety, that's not a choice. That is a one-sided decision every time.
Yeah.
So I let other people who have more interest in it cover that. But today we wanted to come on and talk about how financial security, financial discipline is actually in itself a safety topic.
Yeah, it as a law enforcement veteran and now retiree, one of the arguments I've made for a long time is it's not only a safety issue for your family. I always equated it to an officer safety issue. If I am rolling code 3 to cover, a partner, or we've got a hot detail and, we're going like our hair's on fire kind of a thing, our focus needs to be on where we're going, what we're going to do when we get there. I mean, all these things are going around your head. And there was a time that I had such a level of financial stress that my focus was bifurcated. It was focused on in too many areas when it needed to be on one thing and one thing only. So my argument has always been, listen, if you can get control of your money, if you can figure out your spending plan, if you can get on the same page, and this is the key, getting on the same page as your spouse about how to handle money, all of that financial stress. And I mean, you see, I carry my stress in my shoulders, right? So I'm, if my head is kind of sunk down, my shoulders are up, that means I'm stressed out. But I went from kind of like the hunched shoulders to just relaxed in so many different ways. The number one cause of divorce in this country is money fights and money problems. There are other mitigating factors, of course, infidelity being one of them, but a lot of those things come because people don't talk about their money. Now, if you want to get into the technical details of it, I have things like identity theft insurance. I access my credit report annually, which we are all entitled to do for free. And what's that? Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion are the three major credit reporting agencies. And you simply go to their website, meaning, I don't know if it's Equifax.com. I assume that it is, but if you just, type those three things into the Google machine, you'll get where you want to go. And it's fairly easy to get your free report, print that sucker out, sit down with a yellow or whatever color you enjoy highlighter, and go over it and say, this isn't mine, this isn't mine. And they will direct you as to how to get those things removed from your credit score. Now, let me put the caveat out there that I don't give a good GD what your credit score is. I haven't had a credit card in 11 years, and I will never have one again. I am very much just not because they're inherently evil. I just know my behavior when I have damn near unlimited funds. I've got great discipline now, and I could probably try and work the system and get some miles and blah, 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 and do all that stuff. There was a study done at a Carnegie Mellon University years ago that showed there is like an 80, you tend to spend about 18% more when you're card versus paying with cash, even if you're being aware, because you're like, I could use the points, whatever, it's only an extra little bit here, a little bit there. Those things add up. So I am not schooling my kids on, well, let's get you a credit card, let's get that credit, go your credit score is how you've related with debt over your lifetime. That's it. That's what your FICO score is. How long have you carried debt? What kind of debt have you carried? How long have you had a balance? How are you on your payments? All of that. You could have $1 million in the bank, but if you've not interacted with debt, your credit score is going to be 0. Mm-hmm. It's insane. My original mentor with all this money stuff was Dave Ramsey. And he said, I could go to an apartment building right now and they would not rent me an apartment because I don't have a credit score. I could buy the building, but they would not rent me an apartment, which is just so backwards. And the banking industry and the credit industry have done an amazing marketing job. I mean, look at Chase Field. You've got, all these, was it Lincoln Field in Philly, I think is a bank as well. It's insane the amount of money that they raise via debt. Mm-hmm. And what cracks me up is, people like, well, I pay off. If I had $1, I swear to God, if I had $1 for every person that's ever told me, well, I pay my credit cards off every month. Really? I wonder where the banks are getting these billions of dollars every year in interest fees if everybody I know pays off their credit card every single month. Come on. No, most of them, a handful of them do. My dad being one of them. He's debt free, paid off his house. He's retired. He wants something. He just goes and gets it and, pays off his credit card every month. Okay, sure. There's an outlier. But your average beat cop, your average American, they ain't paying it off every month. And those things will stack up. And the wave of frustration, shame, guilt, all of these negative emotions come crashing down on you. I mean, we used to use Quicken. And when I would open the program, it's got the little cash machine, cha-ching noise that comes on. It's just a login screen, right? It would give my wife like the shudders because she knew that I was going to be checking her bank account. And she knew that if I couldn't get it down to the penny, I would literally pull out my hair until I found why my balance was different than the bank's balance. And it was always I screwed something up, of course. But there's so much anxiety and angst wrapped up in our money. And if your focus is on that all the time, it's not on your family. It's not on ways to raise your kids. It's not on ways to secure your home. It is so overwhelming to be, you just freeze, it's that fight or flight or freeze. And that's it. You just vapor lock, and making decisions becomes that much harder.
I think an example that a lot of parents in America feel on that is if their child gets injured, there's a part of them that is worrying how much that ER visit is going to cost.
100%. Absolutely. My dad had a hip replacement back in March of this year, and I went up to help out. And he after surgery, he had an episode and lost consciousness, and one point it stopped breathing, and it was just this big to-do. And he had an ER visit and an ambulance ride. Even though as a retired firefighter, he's like, no, I'll be fine. I just don't call anybody. I was like, you shut the no.
Yeah.
You don't get to make decisions right now. You are heavily altered. You have no clue what's happening. But between that and the hip replacement, Medicare, it cost him nothing, not a dime, right? Which is great. Health insurance is a wonderful thing to have. Not everybody has it. And that can be exceedingly stressful. If you have the opportunity to get an HSA, that stands for Health Savings Account. Those are, I'm not a broker or salesman for any of these, financial vehicles, but the thought there is up to a certain amount you cover, and then everything above in that, let's use an arbitrary $5,000. You have $5,000 of medical expenses. That's on you. Everything above and beyond that, somebody else takes care of, and that's fantastic. Yeah. Now, getting to that $5,000 though, that's not a small amount of money. But I'll tell you what, if you have a budget, a spending plan, a plan for the money that comes in every single month or every couple of weeks or every week when you're getting paid, if you start telling your money where to go and what to do, that $5,000 will show up with a relative quickness, depending on how dedicated you are, how serious you are, and how much discipline you have. And that's really the key. Is it's not the motivation. Motivation's easy, but motivation is fleeting. It's discipline that will get you where you want to go.
Yeah. Discipline is freedom, as they say. Yeah, you just mentioned the SEA, and it occurred to me HSA. You just moved from a full-time government employee health insurance to self-employed person health insurance. So that must have been a bit of an adventure.
No, actually I didn't. I get lifetime medical. So
okay.
I stay with the same coverage forever.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst part of my divorce 6 years ago, but it was one of the most painful because my ex-wife was a teacher, and I went from teacher insurance to freelance writer insurance, which is not a thing that exists.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to tell you how to do you, but
yeah, the bill was insane.
Oh,
but, yeah. As we're talking about that's one example of where being in a position of financial precarity can directly affect safety decisions about whether you get an ambulance, about whether you go to the ER, or whether you go in for your preventive care. And that's not even thinking about, like you said, about rolling code 3 going in while you're financially stressed, about how the mental energy you're spending worrying about the money when your child's broken their leg is energy you could be spending comforting them, assessing the injury, doing proper first aid. Now, that's just one example of how taking care of your finances is a safety issue.
Yeah, especially using the kid with the busted leg. If you're not worried about the money aspect of it, that kid's going to get more efficient and more expedited medical care, as opposed to you going in the backyard, cutting a couple of branches off the tree and making a splint, rubbing some dirt on it, and being like, "You're fine, Johnny. Hobble to your room."
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's one factor. Another place I think is also being able to afford the security or safety things. For example, I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. I'm not here to talk about politics and guns. What I do say is that if you're going to have a gun in the home, you need to be practicing with that on the range regularly. You need to be good with that gun. But during pandemic, when the cost of ammo got so big, I was not putting as many rounds down range as I probably should have, just because I wasn't gonna get those reps at $150 a round.
Yeah. That is not inexpensive.
No.
And I'll take that example to a little further. Making sure that you've got a quality gun cleaning kit and a safe, that these things are secured properly. I have the opportunity, as it happens, on Thursday to purchase my duty weapon post retirement. So this is great for $1. It's amazing. It's a SIG P226. I love that gun. So I get that back in my hands in a couple of days, and my wife is like, you need to buy a safe. I said, fantastic. That there's a line item in our budget called home maintenance. Now that could be everything from, the washer took a dump, or, oh, hey, we've got to, pay a guy to come repair the furnace, whatever. We do every month what's called sinking funds. So every month there's a certain amount of money we put away into our, now I say put away, it's all in our checking account. It's all in one house. Think of it like this. If you've got a room in your home where you keep all your money, and the money is all allocated for different things. So what you're going to have is a ton of stacks of money, but there's going to be labels on it. Okay, this is for food, this is for gas, this is for insurance, this is for this and that and this. So every month we'll put away, for example, gifts. Once a month we put I think it's like $100 a month. So that's $1,200 a year for gifts. Mm-hmm. Now, when my 16-year-old just had her birthday a week or so ago, and we got her, oh God help me, the wife bought tickets for Harry Styles down in LA. So I don't have to go though. So it's kind of a gift for me, really, if you're thinking about it. Anyway, that came out of our gift fund. And it's not like, okay, well, we're going to take money out of our pet fund for dog food to pay for concert tickets. No, we post-retirement, we're huge. Well, not post-retirement. We've always been huge music fans, but post-retirement, we've made it a point to see as many live shows as we can. Now, I'm not dropping $400 or $500 to go see insert band here. I love music. I ain't paying, unless I'm sitting on the freaking stage, I ain't paying $400 to go see nobody. But we have a line item in our budget, concerts or live music, right? So it's in our budget. We've got a ton of categories, and we'll have certain categories like gifts or home maintenance or health maintenance, and a variety of vehicle maintenance. We maintain a lot of things, and we'll put a certain amount of money away every single month. Now, your car, for example, isn't going to need new tires every month, God willing, unless you're just a savage. You're doing sideshows every other weekend. It's going to be a while before you need new tires. And new tires, let's say $500. If you've put away $100 a month for 5 months, if my math holds up, that's $500. So 6 months later, when you're like, oh man, I need new tires, these things are going to fall off. It's not I got to put it on the credit card and I've got to figure out how to pay for that later, but I need this is a need. You need tires. That is also a safety issue. I need tires. Well, now that $500 is just sitting there waiting for you to tell it what to do. That $500 you put away for tires is not, oh man, my wife really wants that jacket, like you were saying earlier. It's a really nice jacket that looked good on you. We'll figure out the tire thing later. No, that's where the discipline comes in. You put the money away for a certain purpose, let it do its job. That's really all it is just having the wherewithal to understand the kind of categories you need and some even categories you want. When I was home brewing, I had a home brewing line item. And if I had some extra money I wanted to throw at it, great. But it's, like you said, to open the show, it's one of the most liberating things that we've ever done.
And when you have that money set aside for the concert, then you can go to the concert
and enjoy it.
From a safety standpoint, the point brought up about the tires is really important, where being in a financial position where you're not tempted to drive on those some bitches for an extra couple of months.
Yep. Yeah, going into winter.
Yeah. Or or having the money to stock your med kit properly. I see a lot of those Instagram feeds or YouTube channels of the prepper, the prepper mom thing.
Okay.
Because, and they're not working spouses a lot of the time, and I sometimes wonder, how do you have the funds to put away? How are you doing that? But I think it's exactly what you're talking about, where whatever your safety, your safety fetish, whether that's prepping, whether that's guns, whether it's taking care of your car, whether it's your karate lessons, having the financial, being on top of your finances helps you serve that in ways that if you're struggling and stretching week to week, paycheck to paycheck, you cannot.
And you hit the nail right on the head. It really comes down to prioritization. Having the wherewithal to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself no, that's not easy. It's not. I used to be, I'll say a Best Buy addict. I would go to Best Buy every single week, every Tuesday, because that's when new music, new movies, and new games came out. And I would just go and buy what I wanted because I've got a job. I get a paycheck. It'll be fine. We'll figure it out. That I was very, very, very reactionary. I was the firefighter of finances. I only responded when things were like, and then I became more like the cop of finances, where I'm proactive. I'm going out and looking for things. And man, I can't believe I haven't thought of that before. I need to bring that up on my own damn show.
Yeah, we'll need to mention that one to Justin.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's why I'm speaking at virtually at a statewide conference for Illinois next week, and I am 100% going to write that little nugget of wisdom down.
For viewers who haven't seen it, Justin is his best friend who is a career firefighter. They share a podcast called What's Your Emergency, and an earlier one before that was a little less safe for work.
True story.
So I'd like to kind of transition a little bit. We've talked about the importance of finance, some of the tips that you give when you talk to people about getting on top of their finances, and laid, I think, a pretty good case for how finances do interact with our safety and security. Now, one other thing is, because the schools are not going to teach our kids personal finance. Like, I remember my personal finance class, which was me at the age of 15, taking a fill in the bubbles test and doing well enough that I didn't have to actually do the class. There's no way a 15-year-old, under any circumstances, should be up for a class where you can test out of it.
Yeah, agreed.
So, as parents, what can we do to teach our kids financial literacy and financial self-defense? Starting first with how early should we start?
When we started getting out of debt, it was 2009. It literally started like the week before my second kid was born. So in utero, I guess. The best way to teach your kids financial literacy is leading by example. 100% unequivocal. It's not a do as I say, not as I do situation. You are the leader of the family as the parents. They are going to model themselves after what you do, or down the road, they may model themselves after doing something different than what you did because you were a bucket of expletive deleted here. I told the story of Disneyland. We taught our kids how to budget at 5, 6, 7 years old. My 16-year-old now has sounds so weird to say my 16-year-old. She was just 15, like a week and a half ago. She's had a job now for like 6 months, and the wife sat her down with our budgeting software. We use YNAB, stands for You Need a Budget. Very creative. Super, super great software. We've used that pretty much exclusively for the last 10 years. It's very mobile friendly. She sat down with the kid, and the wife sat down with the kid rather, and taught her how to create a budget. I have access to it. The wife has access to it. The kid has access to it. When she gets paid, she divvies up where the money goes. Like, she just had to start getting insured for the vehicle. So she's paying the difference in the insurance, which, by the way, not freaking cheap.
Ooh.
An extra $200 a month ish, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Oh, you said she. Mine was a he, and it was. I should have thought of that 16 years earlier. Really.
Really, just based on male versus female, huh?
Yeah.
You know what?
It's statistically validated.
That tracks.
Yeah.
I remember being 16.
It was substantially less expensive to buy him a car of his own and insure him only on that car than it would have been to pay the difference in the insurance on our other cars.
Wow.
Between him being on there and him not being on there.
Wow. Well, the lucky thing for us is she's got her job and she's paying the difference. You know, we're going to cover gas for her because all the places she's going, we'd have to take her anyway. So that there's no difference there, really. Actually, she might be saving us a little bit because now it's only one direction and then back instead of back and forth, drop off and pick up. So doing us a favor. But literally sitting down and mapping out all the places that they are going to spend money. Now, a 16-year-old does not have a lot of financial obligations. My kid, for example, obviously insurance and any extra trips she takes with the car, she's going to have to cover gas. I'm not paying for you to go hang out with your friends all, downtown for every other weekend. I'm not going to do that. I'll give you one, sure. So she'll pay a little bit there. But when she has spending money or food money that she's hanging out with her friends, I'm not giving her cash for that. You got a job. If you want to spend money, then you have to determine how much you want to spend lunch out with your friends. Are you going to Chipotle and spending $10? Or are you going to go to a sit down joint and pay like $25? They're going to go to Chipotle, by the way. But teaching her, you can look at your phone and say, okay, under dining out, I have $15. Cool. Looks like I can afford dessert too. And when that money's gone until you get paid again. And then you re-up however much you want to put in that category. They're really, if your kids have any kind of a concept of basic math, we're talking addition and subtraction, kids. That is it. There's no variables. There's no equations. It's just plus and minus. That's it. Teaching them the value of $1 even earlier, 5, 6, 7. We didn't do allowance. We did commission. You want to work or you want to get paid? You're going to do a job, because that's how life works. I don't care what kind of, people love to say the word woke. I don't care what kind of woke society we live in. You ain't getting paid unless you're doing work, period. I say period. There's always exceptions to the rule, but by and large, that's the way our society operates. So you can teach them the value of $1 by, okay, if you clean up, dog mess in the backyard, and if you wash my car, or if you mow the lawn, there are certain things that we do that we just expect them to participate in because they're a member of the family. Doing dishes, cleaning their room. That I'm not paying you to make your bed, for God's sakes. It's your bed. Make the friggin' bed. But if they earn $10, I would say, okay, now it's time to learn about taxes. Take 3 of those dollars, give them back to me. What? Yeah. On a good rule of thumb is about 30% of the money you make, the government's going to come and take it to pay for guys like me and Justin to come save you when you do stupid things, and to pave our roads, and to, all of this other stuff. Those are just life lessons. I would obviously give the money back to them, but it's a teachable moment, right?
Yeah.
And then
I know a number of people who've done the tax thing, but the taxes actually go into a savings account for college.
That's a great idea. Absolutely.
A few bucks. Like one of my friends who did that, it was about 30%. But for example, if it was $3, one of them would go into a college savings account. One of them would go into a savings account literally for the next big family vacation. And then the third with them went into an account that they would just give to them upon high school graduation to whatever with.
Nice.
This milestone. So, and that's another way of handling that taxation.
That's a great idea. I love that. So if they've got $7 of their 10 left over in this example, okay, what are your obligations for the next until you get paid next? Whatever. Your friend Sally has a birthday party. All of my names are girls because I have 3 daughters, so all of their friends are girls. So Sally's got a birthday on Saturday, and you're going to go to the party. Cool. How much do you want to spend on Sally's gift? $5. Okay. You want to get a gift card to Dunkin' or go to TJ Maxx and get her something, small. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Now we've got $2 left over. Do you want to just have some fun money? Yeah, great. There's $2 to spend, whatever. But when that money is gone, that money's gone. And kids, well, everybody, adults, even more so than others, need to learn that money is finite. It is finite. Oh, what about a credit card? You're spending money that's not yours. That sounds like stealing to me, but what do I know? It's money that's going to cost you even more money if you're not paying attention to it, which it's real easy to forget about those things and not pay attention to it because it hurts my brain, makes my heart feel bad. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to stick my head in the sand. And, when I get that bill in the mail, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
Now, I hate that perspective. And I had it for a very long time. If I if I had known at the beginning of my career, because I was 10 or 11 years into my career when we started paying attention to our money, I pissed away a crap ton of money in those first 10 years. And much like my dad, he is fond of saying, I'm on a fixed income. I'm fixed up right nice. And I mean, in retirement, I'm doing okay. You know, we're not eating toaster scrapings or nothing. But I can only imagine if I had started 10 years earlier. I mean, we're talking about exponentially stronger financially if I had paid attention when I was 26 instead of 36.
And you're in a special situation. This is something I knew from my father, who I mentioned earlier, worked in banking. Teachers and police were hugely targeted by banks because they both make enough money to get into trouble, but don't make enough money to get out of trouble. And in many jurisdictions, they are professionally punished for bankruptcy and default.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
back in
you're targeted intentionally to make the mistakes that you made.
Oh no doubt. See, and that's what I'm talking about with the banking and the credit card industry. These are billion, in some examples, $1 trillion companies. And you think they don't know you're going to get over on them? Oh, aren't you a special little smart guy? Give me a break. No, absolutely not. You know, in 2008, when the housing crisis went nuts, I knew personally a number of police officers that walked away from their house. And I'm like, that seems like a pretty ethically, I'm not cool with it area. You signed a contract. You put your name on a piece of paper. Yeah, well, that was different. Oh, okay. So when, you know, it comes up, you button up against a policy that you're like, well, it doesn't really matter. You took an oath. Well, I didn't mean that part. No, absolutely not. It's suspicious behavior in my not so humble opinion.
Excellent. So yeah, we're talking about even in an early age with whether you do the allowance thing, whether you do the work for hire thing, whether you do like what's the term? Like in our family, the kids, you know, it's an allowance, but you get paid your allowance based on doing the chores. It's not like a buck for feeding the cat and a buck for emptying the dish and a buck for vacuuming the living room. It's you get this many dollars a week, and during the week you need to do this stuff, or you do it very specifically. Like my youngest mom just like gives him quarters whenever he does a thing. And it's kind of weird with him because he doesn't actually want stuff at all. So like there's this money just kind of hanging around, and like once every 6 months he'll want a $9 video game off of Steam. So it's
buddy, you've got $900. We're good to go.
yeah,
it's all in quarters.
Yeah, it's actually a little challenging getting him to bite on learning financial literacy because he just doesn't appear to care.
Yeah,
which is, you know, but if you grow, if he continues that and not being somebody who cares about physical things, that'll serve him well.
Absolutely.
But the point of all that being, in those early days, we're going to start teaching the value of a dollar, the association between work and money, that money is finite. Or one thing that I've tried to teach my kids is, you know, finite's a relative term if you're willing to hustle. That's
true. Yeah.
Don't go on if you need that extra couple $100. Credit card's not a great option. Throwing a few extra, you know, re-upping your Uber driving account is a good option. Or in my case, just, you know, reaching out to 2 or 3 more publications or whatever it is.
Yep.
And you're starting to teach that then, and then we're transitioning into that middle school age where they're starting to have some social pressure to spend money. They're starting to feel the difference between people spending a lot of money on certain things, not as much money on other things. And they're also becoming cognitively and mathematically capable of the more complex things.
Yep.
And then they shift into being full-on teenagers where they have more responsibilities, they want a job, and we're starting to run up against a clock about sending them out into the world ready for adult financial responsibility.
Oh, and guess what? When the first time they step on a college campus, guess who's going to be in the quad giving away free t-shirts and free frizz? It's going to be your local credit card company
Yeah.
trying to get them on the hook, because that card is going to have their school's logo on it. And don't you want to have school spirit? And I'll buy honey, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. You just walk on by. Yeah. With our oldest, he, for some reason, he didn't want to apply for a credit card, which is great. You know, but we had the one emergency credit card just in case he gets stuck in Topeka, right? And you know, we had
nobody wants to get stuck in Topeka. Sorry, Topeka.
No. But you know, we had to have a conversation about, okay, this is for emergencies. You being out of money in Seattle and wanting Taco Bell does not constitute an emergency.
That's right.
You know, you being stuck in Seattle and being out of gas, maybe, right?
Yeah, and we have talked to our kids on and on and on about establishing an emergency fund.
Yes.
And we've got a nice little chunk of change. Just it's been hanging out in our savings account literally for 10 years.
Yeah.
And we've had to access it once or twice for legit emergencies. And then we immediately stop all saving and replenish it as soon as conceivably possible, if not immediately on the next paycheck. And when you take the drama out of an emergency, you are simply left with an inconvenience. It's inconvenient to run out of gas in Seattle. It is not an emergency if you're like, oh, I've got this plan and it's fine. I'm just gonna execute the plan. I don't need to freak out about it because I planned ahead of time for an emergency. It's really drama insurance as opposed to an emergency fund. One
of the kind of taglines for a lot of the emergencies conversations I have is, this is in place to keep inconveniences from becoming emergencies and to keep emergencies from becoming tragedies.
There you go. I love it. Right. That's fantastic. You embroider that on a pillow and send it to everybody.
I know, right? And having the emergency fund is one way to do that. And for viewers who aren't familiar, emergency fund is cash you have set aside so you don't have to use a credit card when things go sideways. A lot of self-employed people, myself included, kind of have to do a tax savings account anyway, where you save aside as much as you're afraid you're going to have to pay in taxes.
Yep.
And since you're not using that anyway, that can double as an emergency fund a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you have to have the discipline to properly define what an emergency is for you. An emergency for you may not be an emergency for me, but most of the time it is. And then having the discipline again to not dip into that because you want, an extra whatever for an experience you're having. Don't
because you want Taco Bell.
That is never an emergency.
No.
Unless they bring back the Mexican pizza, and then I don't know, man, all bets are off.
I know I've been on road trips where having eaten Taco Bell became an emergency.
Yes,
but that's a different topic.
Yeah, totally different show.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on today. Before I let you go, what haven't I asked you that I should have?
You haven't asked me on the air about how cool the mustache is, but
oh yeah, no, I did tease you about it before we started recording.
That's true.
But yes, absolutely. You are definitely when he came on, I complimented him on his IPA mustache.
That's true. That is absolutely true. And it's funny. Tomorrow I've got a conversation with a tasting room manager at my favorite little tap house. Shout out Mike Hess. And they may be hiring in the spring. And I was like, I'm retired. I can hang out and sling beers. That sounds really not stressful at all and a lot of fun. So especially with the mustache, I'll fit right in, man.
Yeah, especially at a tap room. It's not like, hanging out at a bar where, your career drinkers and then the angry guys off shift come in. That's an entirely different bar experience, which is
absolutely. There's another retired cop that works there, and he's like, it's great, dude. We close at 9. We very, very seldomly have, the bar flies, the regulars that are problem children. He's like, everybody here is just super cool. So Yeah, my day to day is just, get up to help take care of the kids. Now I don't have to take one of them to school. She drives herself, which is freaking amazing. And really just living the life, man. The 23 years in law enforcement, especially towards the end there, was a little bit touch and go, and became way less fun to show up for work. And the day I was told you're permanent and stationary by the occupational health doc, I was like, oh, boosh. I mean, just pulled the eject, and I was out, dude. And I've never looked back. Don't miss even a second of it. It's just having that freedom to do what I want during the day, because we planned and worked our asses off, especially the latter half of my career, and became exceedingly disciplined. And, now it's paying dividends, man. It's great. Absolutely great.
And what kind of earmark, before we go, about your point that you were halfway in, you were just a gnat's hair shy of $100K in debt on a cop salary.
Yep.
And you managed to turn that battleship around. I think there are people, and I know that I was like that when I was in a lot of financial situation after my first business failed after the divorce, where there's this sense of futility and surrender, where, I'm screwed. I'm going to be screwed. I might as well go ahead and buy that stereo. As though people buy stereos anymore. I'm dating myself there a little bit. But that whatever the kids are buying these days. The point being that it is not too late.
It never is. The best day to start was yesterday. Next best day is today, right now. You can decide that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it's time to figure out what to do next. I do have a 5-day free budgeting challenge. If you're /listeners/fans/sycophants want to check it out at gpsfinancialcoaching.com. It's the button right in the middle says take the 5-day budgeting challenge, and it's totally free. I will teach you how to create a personalized spending plan that is unique to you, your situation, and your family in five short steps.
Check that. That was gpsfinancial.com.
gpsfinancialcoaching.com.
Coaching. gpsfinancialcoaching.com.
You got it.
All right. And folks, as you heard, it's not just about the money. It is about safety. It is about taking care of our kids, whether that's handling emergencies more effectively, whether that's having the mental energy to, go play a video game or a board game with them, or just be more engaged, and having the free time because you're not having to pull an overtime shift to make it to the soccer game or coach the chess club or whatever it is.
That's huge. We didn't even talk about the whole overtime thing, but that's you're absolutely correct. Having the mental space to be there for your family is, man, you literally cannot put a price on that.
No, absolutely. That was the reason that I transitioned to freelance writing from working in the evenings and weekends job running a karate school. Having that time and that flexibility.
Totally.
But thank you, Jason, for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, buddy.